This is RTV6 News at 11, working for you.
A Shelbyville mother says a tradition was broken and a memory that cannot be replaced was missed. And tonight she wants answers. Thanks for joining us here at 11 o'clock. I'm Nicole Griffin. That mom says a mix-up kept her son and other students from taking part in their high school graduation ceremony this weekend. Troy Washington is explaining what happened.
This mother ended up surrounded by 4 police officers Saturday morning just before the Shelbyville High graduation.
So happy that Shelbyville High School was allowing this opportunity, even if it was later in the year, even if it was on the football field, even if we had less opportunity for family to come. I was so proud of the fact that my son was going to get to have that experience, and then to be standing there and have it taken away was horrible. It was heartbreaking.
Frankie says her son was on time to graduation and had all the right gear, but wanted to help his girlfriend in a moment of distress.
My mom graduated from the school 50 years ago. She, as a female, wore a gold cap and gown. I graduated from there in 96 as a female, wore a gold cap and gown. Apparently this was the first year they wore the black for the males and the females, so she didn't have a black one because she was going to borrow a gold one from someone else.
This mother says determined to help, she got administration involved, and though they found a gown, she says the same person who gave her a hand sent police her way and wouldn't let the students back in line to march.
We're standing there with the kids lined up on either side of us and them there, and the woman was telling them they couldn't walk. And I said, what do you mean? She said they were late. They were late to check in. And I said, I was down here with you. I spoke with you. You knew they were working on the cap and gown. You acquired the cap and gown for her, told her to come here, which maybe that made her miss her check-in time on the other side. I'm not sure because I was never on the other side.
Eventually, even the police officers decided to give the graduates a break, and it appeared they'd get their chance to cross the stage on the football field.
As I was explaining with the camera rolling, the officer said, let's go. Which line do you go in? You guys are on the left? Okay. I have video of the officer saying, let's go. My son putting his mask on and both of them going to line and lining up.
According to the mother, the 2 graduates never took their spot on the field. Instead, they were escorted out to this parking lot while the ceremony went on without them. And still, Frankie says she's glad she stood up for both graduates.
She showed up to being the first kid in her family to graduate and did not have a family member there. She had no one to be an advocate for her. And when I wrote the post, a lot of it was to let her know someone was proud of her. And that's what family does.
Working for you in Shelbyville, Troy Washington, RTV6.
Troy, thank you. We have reached out to the school's principal tonight, and we are still waiting to hear back. New at 11, a man is dead after a shooting earlier tonight at an apartment complex in Cumberland. Police were called to investigate the shooting around 7:45 p.m. in the 11,300 block of East New York Street. Officers say the victim, a man in his 20s, was dead when they arrived. His name has not been released. Investigators say this is the first homicide in Cumberland this year. Continuing our coverage of the coronavirus and its impact on Indiana, the state health department reports 8 more COVID-19 deaths and 860 new cases. 2,706 Hoosiers have now died from the coronavirus. More than 62,000 Hoosiers have tested positive for the virus. More than 701,000 people have been tested in Indiana, with 8.9% testing positive. Indiana's statewide mask mandate to slow the spread of COVID-19 takes effect tomorrow. Governor Holcomb on Friday signed the executive order to make that happen. However, he dropped a planned criminal penalty from the mask mandate after objections from some law enforcement officials and conservative legislators. When he announced the mandate last Wednesday, the governor said violators could face a misdemeanor charge, but noted that the, quote, mask police would not be patrolling the streets. Indiana Attorney General Curtis Hill issued a non-binding opinion that only the legislator could make violations a criminal offense. The Republican leader of the state Senate praised Holcomb's decision to drop the possible misdemeanor offense. The governor's executive order to wear a mask is in effect until at least August 26th.
Right now, we need to decrease the cases in Indiana and in Indianapolis, and we all can do that together with masks and no bars.
Tonight, we are sharing more from our one-on-one interview with Dr. Deborah Birx, the White House Coronavirus Task Force Coordinator. Dr. Birx sat down with our Rafael Sanchez to discuss a variety of topics related to the coronavirus while in town Friday to discuss safely reopening schools. She has been on the road visiting states for the last 3 weeks because she says showing up in person shows the level of concern. She wants to get this message out to everyone who needs to hear it. Dr. Birx says if we stop going to bars, wear a mask in every public place, test positivity will start to drop and cases will drop. As a result, she says we can get children back to school.
We know that children get less disease, but we're also concerned about the parents in multi-generational households, and we're concerned about the teachers. And so together, we can make a future for our children, but we all have to make some personal sacrifice to be on the American team to really stop the spread of this virus so children can go back, and critically so the grandparents will be there come the holiday season because we protected them from COVID.
She also reiterated the need for Indianapolis to take aggressive action against the recent increase of COVID-19 cases in the city. She says closing down bars and mandating masks are a step in the right direction. Dr. Birx says it is important to get testing sites out into communities where there are a high number of cases, especially in the Hispanic or African American communities. She says the Marion County Public Health Department is out talking with churches and community centers, as we just showed you yesterday with this pop-up testing site on the northwest side, and bringing testing to communities where it is needed. This week, the Marion County Public Health Department is expected to release more guidance on back-to-school plans for local schools. Dr. Jeff Butts, the superintendent for Wayne Township Schools, says the district has been asked to submit a plan outlining how they can reduce capacity in school buildings. The district's back-to-school task force is working over the weekend on plans to propose a hybrid schedule for students 7th through 12th grade. That means 2 days of in-person instruction and 3 days of e-learning. Students will be divided by alphabet, with about half attending in person Monday and Tuesday, the other half attending on Wednesday and Thursday. All 7th through 12th grade students will do e-learning on Friday. Meanwhile, K through 6 students will attend 5 days a week due to parents choosing the Wayne at home learning option.
I will tell you, our remote learning option was greatly received, and we have a significant number of children, about 1,600 of our elementary children, who have chosen to start remotely. That has allowed us to reduce our class sizes at the elementary level below what we have seen in the past. So that will be a great help for us in reducing children in the classroom. We've removed additional furniture that was in our classrooms that students used to have for small group instruction. And we'll be working very intentionally when we do have smaller groups, that we're working to keep our students socially distanced.
Dr. Butts says these plans are developing and changing daily as new guidance comes down. They expect to communicate even more back-to-school plans with parents and students this coming week. Wayne Township is expected to start school on August 12th. Now to your Storm Team 6 forecast. Meteorologist Kyle Mound standing by as we wrap up a warm weekend, Kyle.
Yeah, it got steamy out there this afternoon, Nicole. Temperatures that combined with the humidity, and for some of us, it sent that heat index above 100 degrees. You can see, though, that we made it to 92 in Indianapolis for the air temperature, and 99 was the peak heat index in the city, and it still feels close to 90 degrees tonight in Muncie with a temperature of 83. It's 80 degrees right now in Indianapolis. And as we look at the satellite and radar, storms well off to the northwest. They will stay there tonight, and it is a dry start to your Monday, very warm. Temperatures already to 80 degrees by 9 a.m. We'll talk about an increasing chance for storms in the Monday afternoon forecast in a few minutes.
Kyle, thank you. Investigators believe road rage led to the shooting of a motorcyclist earlier today. Metro Police say a man riding a motorcycle was shot around 1 p.m. near the intersection of East 38th Street and North Keystone Avenue. He then drove his motorcycle to a nearby White Castle parking lot. He was taken to the hospital in stable condition. Officers are looking for a person or people in a white Chevrolet Malibu who were believed to be involved in the shooting. This week, IMPD officers will receive thank you bags that are full of donations from all across the country. Today, the group called the Blue Bond, which is an affiliate of the National Police Wives Association, spent the day packing these bags. They will be delivered this week. They received hundreds of items donated from their Amazon wish list along with thank you notes, and they were able to put together 1,800 bags. The goal, to show officers they are loved and appreciated. We talked with the group's leader who says it's not always easy being married to a police officer, but having a group of women supporting each other does help.
It's probably one of the hardest things. It takes a strong woman to be an officer's wife, first responder wife in general. All these women back here that are helping me are probably the strongest people I know.
When we're having those days that like you get that phone call from your husband and it's like, hey, it's gonna be a late night, bad things, can't come home, don't check the news, talk to you later. Like you need a community that you can rely on and you can lean on when you have those bad days. And that's all the women in this room.
The Blue Bond hopes to hold more Operation Morale Boost events like this for other officers across the state. But in order to do that, they do need wives to volunteer to pack the bags. The nationwide snapshot of COVID-19 continues to look very grim. Up next, renewed calls for a complete shutdown and how the government is responding. More than 145,000 Americans have now died from COVID-19. The country seeing 5 days in a row of more than 1,000 deaths per day. California and Florida are the states with the highest number of cases. Here's ABC's Stephanie Ramos with the details.
For the fifth straight day in the U.S., more than 1,000 people have died from COVID-19 daily, according to the COVID Tracking Project. The number of cases of the virus on the rise in 37 states, Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C. Dr. Deborah Birx spoke with our Columbus station WSYX with some advice on how to slow the spread.
We're asking them not to go to bars. We're asking them to wash their hands and to not social gather with large groups of people.
California with most cases of the virus.
Our objective is to kill this virus. A shelter in place, as difficult as it will be, is the medicine we need to take.
Florida surpassing New York, becoming the state with the second highest number of coronavirus cases. But business leaders in the Sunshine State are still looking for ways to get bars and restaurants reopened.
Florida is still very much a global hotspot, but it is many, many weeks away from getting to a point where it can even think about bars. If they open up bars now, they're basically saying goodbye to schools for all of the fall.
Those in the medical field also feeling the strain. Shortages of healthcare workers are being reported nationwide.
We are incentivizing them with dollars, but at some point it doesn't matter how much you pay a person to work. They just can't physically do it anymore.
With millions of Americans out of work due to the pandemic, many relying on the $600 a week federal unemployment assistance, a benefit set to expire this week.
A lot of people got more money staying at home than they would going back to work. And so the president's been very clear. Our Republican senators have been very clear. We're not going to extend that provision.
But Democratic Senator Chuck Schumer says those unemployment checks have helped the economy.
Unemployment insurance has prevented the recession from turning into the Great Depression. Leader McConnell has refused to put bill together and put it on the floor of the Senate. We need him to act now.
Stephanie Ramos, ABC News, New York.
Stephanie, thank you. County health officials in Florida say they are not seeing any COVID-19 outbreaks associated with the reopening of theme parks. Walt Disney World reopened earlier this month, while Universal and SeaWorld reopened in June. Orange County public health officials have been working with the parks to monitor any cases or outbreaks, and they have not seen an uptick. She was one of the last remaining stars from Hollywood's golden age. Actress Olivia De Havilland has died at the age of 104. ABC News' Lindsay Davis has more on her life.
She was born in Japan to English parents, but grew up in Saratoga, California. For most of her adult life, she was estranged from her sister, the actress Joan Fontaine. They never reconciled.
Robin!
The public first got to know her as Maid Marion to Errol Flynn's Robin Hood. But she will always be remembered for Gone with the Wind.
It managed to be the happiest film experience of my whole life.
I've never before known anyone who was really brave. I pray God things go well with you, Miss Millie.
She was only 22 when she was cast as Melanie, appearing with Clark Gable.
I wish I could tell you what he was really like, and I regret to say I can't.
Off-screen, she was a bit of a rebel, suing Warner Brothers over the 7-year contract system which made actors virtual property of their studios. She won a landmark decision that signaled the end of the contract system in Hollywood. After the legal battle, she returned to films and dominated the silver screen in the late 1940s, receiving 3 nominations and winning 2 Oscars for Best Actress, Into Each His Own in 1946 and The Heiress in 1949. In 2008, she received the American National Medal of the Arts from President George W. Bush.
Her independence, integrity, and grace won creative freedom for herself and for her fellow film actors.
Independence, integrity, grace. One of the great ladies of Hollywood, Olivia De Havilland. Lindsay Davis, ABC News.
Lindsay, thank you. Civil rights icon John Lewis made his final journey across the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama today. Hundreds of mourners lining the route to watch as his flag-draped casket was carried by a horse-drawn caisson modeled after the one Martin Luther King Jr. had for his funeral. The somber journey returned Lewis to the spot where he almost died on March 7, 1965, when Alabama state troopers attacked him and other civil rights demonstrators as they crossed that bridge demanding voting rights.
Our nation is better off because of John Robert Lewis. My life is better. Selma is better. This nation and this world are better because of John Robert Lewis.
Lewis now lying in state at the Alabama State Capitol in Montgomery on Monday and Tuesday, a special tribute in Washington, D.C. to the man many called the conscience of Congress. He will lie in state in the U.S. Capitol Rotunda before making his final journey back to Atlanta for his funeral on Thursday. Let's now get another check of your Storm Team 6 forecast with Kyle.
And Nicole, it was an instant sweat kind of day as you stepped out this afternoon, and I noticed not a whole lot of people out, just kind of taking a break there in the cooler air conditioning and the fan, and that's going to continue to run here tonight because even after 11 o'clock, much of central Indiana is still in the 80s. It is 80 degrees downtown, 83 in Muncie, and 81 in Greenwood. Tonight, a balmy low of 74 degrees with a light southwest wind, just a few clouds out there. And temperatures again will make a run at that 90-degree mark Monday, but most of us won't quite get there as those rain chances increase. And actually, as we look at your hourly forecast on Monday, you'll notice that the heat of the afternoon comes during the early afternoon hours, about 1, 2 o'clock there. Temperatures will top out before the thunderstorms increase in coverage. Again, it's going to be a dry start to the day, though, and that will allow those temperatures to warm pretty quickly. Let's get a timeline here for you on those thunderstorms, and TrueCast shows by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, that's when we'll really start to notice those thunderstorms bubbling up, and I do think they'll kind of bubble up overhead. It's not necessarily a line of storms we're going to be inheriting, so things will change throughout the afternoon, and that rain will become a little more widespread. If you do have an evening commute, prepare to be slowed down a little bit as we'll have those thunderstorms, and some of them could have some heavy downpours as we take this humidity that's in the air and translate that into some heavy rainfall. All that rain will continue to slide off to the east and southeast here as we go into Monday evening, and I think by early Tuesday morning, most of central Indiana will be dry once again. See that area highlighted in green? It's pretty much all of the RTV6 area on Monday, a marginal or low risk that some of those storms could have some gusty winds. So that's something we'll watch for, and also a good reminder, make sure you got the free Storm Shield app loaded up on your mobile phone so you'll get any warnings that are issued sent right to your phone for your location. As far as rainfall, overall about a half an inch of rain, but you notice here that some areas you get under some thunderstorms and you could get over an inch, possibly over an inch and a half of rain. So we'll watch for some localized flooding, but things improve greatly on Tuesday. Not only is the sunshine back, but the humidity will drop. 7-day planning forecast, put it all together for you, and we will enjoy that less humid and slightly cooler air here for much of the week ahead, with temperatures topping out in the lower to middle 80s. It looks like as we look ahead to next weekend, the first weekend of August, Those temperatures, Nicole, not going to be all that bad, but those weekend plans could be interrupted by a few more thunderstorms.
All right, Kyle, thank you. Trying to work with a new normal on the UIndy campus. Coming up in sports, we take a look at how fall sports athletes and coaches are making some big adjustments with hopes of taking the field soon. Pro sports are making their way back. NFL teams are starting training camp and Major League Baseball opened last Thursday. But college sports are still very much up in the air. At the University of Indianapolis, they are taking things one step at a time. Brad Brown has a closer look in our Sports Extra Spotlight.
Slowly and cautiously, the UIndy campus is starting to come back to life as the first group of fall sports athletes are getting back to work.
If we can show that we can fully operate during this time frame, that's going to be a really good footprint to operate with once the fall sports come back.
Scott Young will be taking over as UIndy's Director of Athletics on September 1st. He is overseeing what will be a weeks-long process of getting players and coaches back in action.
We're provided guidelines by the state of Indiana, by Marion County, by the University of Indianapolis, and as long as we can operate within those guidelines, we can be creative in allowing our student athletes opportunities.
The multi-layered approach comes from a couple of angles. First is the now standard practices of wearing masks during downtime and extra sanitizing of facilities.
The new protocols that have been put in place by our athletic training staff and team physicians are they're minorly inconvenient. So the temperature checks, we have a daily health questionnaire that the girls fill out.
The other comes in the form of timing. Teams are returning only on certain weeks and upperclassmen only before freshmen come to campus.
We're asking our athletes to kind of try and stay quarantined as best possible and still live their lives, but do their best to try and avoid the big groups and all that. And so far, it's been great.
For the teams that are already working, it's also a numbers game. Football workouts that may have previously included half the team are now reduced to groups of 10 or less.
The biggest challenge, as I think it has been for everybody else, is that just as soon as you have something in place and you have all the answers, then the protocols change and then the systems change.
We're all anxious to get back, and so we want to do what we can to follow those rules so that way we can continue to move forward.
And there are still so many questions to be answered. Seasons may be delayed, conference games only, perhaps moving all of this to the spring.
Everybody's been gone, but they're also very understanding that the decisions we make now will make major impacts on our fall seasons.
And that's pretty much the mood for now. Be ready for anything, even if that anything ends up being nothing for now. Brad Brown, RTV6 Sports.
RTV6 and the Indiana Black Expo are teaming up for the virtual Hiring Hoosiers Employment Opportunity Fair this coming Thursday, July 30th from noon until 4 p.m. Quality employers are coming together to help you take the next steps in your career, and immediate job openings are available. To get connected, visit indianablackexpo.com. As students prepare to head back to school in the coming weeks, events are being held all across central Indiana to help them get prepared. Today, Indiana Wireless Zone locations gave out hundreds of backpacks filled with school supplies. We visited the store on Kessler Boulevard today, and the manager says it makes him feel good to be able to help out families as many are still struggling financially during the pandemic.
Most of them have been real thankful because, backpacks are expensive right now. And so being able to help out our community in any way possible, especially with the craziness going on in the world, we try to do as much as we can.
The Verizon Wireless retailer estimates that altogether they have handed out more than 140,000 backpacks since 2013. Kyle.
Still humid tomorrow, and we'll have a few thunderstorms as we go into the afternoon. But after that, Nicole, the temperature should be a little more comfortable and that humidity will drop.
All right, Kyle, thank you. And thank you for joining us. Good Morning Indiana starts at 4:30.